Hello, I'm John Griffin, and I'm going to talk with you a little bit about wind energy and specifically how increasing electricity generation from wind power can be effective to combat climate change, and then some of the challenges and limitations that need to be overcome to expand wind energy's share in the marketplace. So we'll talk about fossil fuels and wind energy, how it works, why it's beneficial, and then those limitations, which would be transmission, icing, and end of life. So through much of the 20th century, most of the world's energy needs were provided by non-renewable fossil fuels such as oil, natural gas, and coal. And there's been a shift lately, especially in electricity generation, to incorporate more renewable resources. But still in 2016, fossil fuels provided 79% of the world's energy requirements, and that is including electricity, transport, heating, and cooking. There's a few issues in the reliance on fossil fuels. One is it's a limited resource, right? There's only so much in the world, and it's projected that it could be depleted within a few decades. So then we'd be forced to use some other source of fuel. Another is carbon emissions from using these fossil fuels. So they're used by burning, and when they're burned, they release carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. So human contribution of carbon dioxide over the last few decades has caused an increase in global temperatures rising and is projected to continue to do so. Now, the issue with that is even a small increase in global temperatures can have quite dramatic effects. So it's found that if to avoid some of the most extreme conditions from global warming is to keep the global temperature from increasing above 2 Celsius. And in order to do that, it's been found that the rate of carbon emissions must be reduced starting now and then linearly continue to be reduced until reaching zero emissions by 2050. So some issues if that temperature gets higher than that is from rising global temperatures is rising sea levels, more frequent natural disasters, and it can cause areas to become uninhabitable. So one of these sources of renewable energy is wind energy. So this is done through the use of wind turbines most widely. So just like in the picture here, they have the wind blades, usually three of them, and they're designed in such a way that when the wind cuts across them, they create a lift force, and then that lift force is applied to the rotor hub and causes a rotational force, and then that in turn is put through a generator to create electric energy. So they turn this wind power, kinetic energy into electric energy. The benefits of this wind energy is it's a free fuel source, it's abundant, it's just out there, and then it's carbon free. There's no emissions while it's in normal operation. So here's some of the limitations that are keeping wind energy from becoming more dominant in the marketplace. One is that a lot of the good wind resource areas in the United States are in rural areas, like in the mountains, and then some of the higher demand places are in areas where there's not such good wind resources. So you need to be able to get the electricity generated in these higher wind resource areas to the areas that really need them, right? So if you increase the transmission, you can make more efficient use of the wind energy. Those wind resources can be better utilized to provide energy across the country. Another benefit of connecting the grid systems is that it gives the people that manage energy to the more flexibility to deal with the fluctuations in output from wind energy. So that is a downside from wind energy. It's not the wind doesn't blow at a constant rate all the time. So you will have a difference in wind power depending on the how much wind there is, right? So if you are interconnecting uh, wind farms with other fuel sources, you can adjust those other fuel sources to be able to take advantage of that fluctuation in the wind energy and without causing a loss of power, but also keeping from curtailing that wind energy. Another issue is icing. So there's more wind turbines in colder climates than in warmer climates because there's a higher potential for wind energy. So wind density is higher in colder climates than it is in warmer climates. Right? So that's another high wind resource areas. But what can happen if it's cold is you can run into icing, and that causes ice to accumulate on the blade and can reduce its efficiency or even cause it to have to get stopped until the ice can be cleared. So there's a few methods that are in use for dealing with icing, and they can be pretty effective in combination. So one is that has been found that can handle the icing problem on its own. It's called the ultrasonic method. So this is used as a transducers to transmit heat and vibration through the blade to break the ice free. So there's currently research going on about the best material to use that's going to make it effective, but is also a material that is not harmful for the environment. So wider utilization of this ultrasonic method and finding that good material will allow it easier to overcome these icing areas. So another concern is, what do you do with these wind turbine blades when they're not in use? A lot of them are just going to the landfill. So if there is more of a focus on reuse or expanded industries to take advantage of old blades, it would be very beneficial. So here's some references where I found some of this information. And yeah, wind energy is important for reducing carbon emissions to prevent global climate change and overcoming some of those limitations to transmission icing, and what to do with old turbine blades is going to be important issues to overcome to expand that use of wind energy. Thank you.